Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are literally putting on our scrubs and stepping into the plant clinic for a real plant medic masterclass. We're going to break down the actual science of rescuing waterlogged plants, saving those failing cuttings, and understanding that whole invisible ecosystem going on right beneath the soil. So let's go save some plant lives. To kick things off, listen to this super frustrated Reddit user who basically posted, "Help, my water propagations keep dying every single time I move them to dirt." You know the drill. They wait 2 to 3 weeks, get these beautiful, healthy roots in a glass of water, and plant them in regular soil, only to watch the whole thing completely wilt and die. Look, if you're a plant lover, you have absolutely felt this exact pain. You did everything right, so what went wrong? Okay, let's dive into this. Why do cuttings just shock to death? And honestly, similarly, why do fully mature plants suddenly start dropping leaves after a heavy rain or, an accidental overwatering session? Well, the answer usually comes down to one absolutely crucial, invisible factor: oxygen. When we transition a plant poorly or when we overwater it, we aren't just giving it too much to drink. We're actually actively suffocating it. The roots are literally drowning down there. Let's look at the life cycle of a waterlogged plant for a second, just to distinguish between a thirsty one and a drowning one, because they look different. When a plant is underwatered, its leaves look dry and crispy, right? But when a plant is waterlogged, whether that's from heavy rain flooding your garden or just a pot that simply doesn't drain, the water actually pushes all the oxygen completely out of the soil. The roots can't breathe anymore, which leads to those soft, signature yellowing leaves. And eventually, those suffocated roots succumb to root rot, and the whole plant just dies. So what do we do when we spot those yellow leaves and that super wet soil? We don't just sit back and cross our fingers. We initiate full-on emergency root rescue triage. We have to treat the plant like a patient that is actively drowning, and that requires some immediate physical intervention to get airflow back into that root zone. Here are your exact triage steps pulled directly from agricultural recovery protocols. Step 1. Drain the water immediately. If it's a pot, double-check that those drainage holes aren't blocked up. Step 2, lightly aerate the topsoil. Just breaking up that surface crust helps water evaporate way faster and lets the oxygen back in. But step 3, okay, this is an incredible hack right from our sources. Add cool kitchen ash around the base of the plant. Seriously, the ash acts like a giant sponge, rapidly wicking all that excess surface moisture up and away from those suffocating roots. It's a brilliant, fast-acting remedy. Now, we do have to be a little careful not to love our plants to death during this rescue. There are some major warnings you've got to follow. First off, if the plant is mature and has a large established root system, do not aggressively scrape or break up the soil around it. Doing that is going to tear those already weakened roots and invite in some really deadly bacteria. Second, absolutely no heavy inorganic nitrogen fertilizers right now. Just don't do it. And third, avoid any leaf fertilizers or growth stimulants right after a heavy rain or a flooding event. The plant's leaves are super soft and vulnerable. Pushing it to grow right now is just going to cause it to rot. This suffocating root shock is exactly what was happening to our Reddit users' cuttings. The secret to saving those water propagations actually comes down to a magic number: 5. 5 centimeters. If you are rooting a cutting in water, you really should move it to soil when the roots are a maximum of 5 centimeters long. If you let them grow this massive, beautiful web of roots in that water jar, they completely adopt you an aquatic environment. Yanking them into dense, dry dirt after that causes massive and often fatal root shock. But hey, let's say you've already left your cutting in water way too long. Don't panic. The community sources actually provide this brilliant, slow acclimation technique. Let's call it the dirt sprinkle trick. Instead of moving the cutting straight into a pot, you just keep it in its container of water. Then, every single day, you add just 1 spoonful of dirt into the water. Slowly, day by day, that water turns into mud and then eventually to damp soil. This gives those super delicate water roots the time they actually need to harden off and adapt without totally freaking out and going into shock. Okay, but what if your cuttings aren't rooting at all? What if they're just turning into mush? Well, that brings us to the science of rooting hormones. Specifically, the power of auxins like IBA and NAA. See, these aren't just your run-of-the-mill fertilizers. They're actually specific biological signals. They basically tell the plant cells at the base of the cutting, hey, stop doing whatever you were doing, divide rapidly, and turn into root tissue right now. Giving your cutting a dose of this hormone essentially forces it to create a robust root system really quickly, which seals off that vulnerable tissue before waterlogged rot has any chance to turn the stem to mush. And this brilliantly illustrates why you can't just use any old rooting hormone for every plant. You have to prescribe the right type.
Powder rooting hormones are highly concentrated. They are absolutely perfect for hard, woody stems. Think fruit trees or mature shrubs that are, notoriously stubborn. On the flip side, gel or liquid hormones provide much better surface adhesion and a gentler, deeper penetration. So those are going to be ideal for your delicate cuttings, rare orchids, or soft houseplants, where a really harsh powder might actually damage the tissue. For a really highly reliable liquid application, a ton of growers swear by N3M. And here is the precise, actionable prescription for using it to get like an 85 to 95% cutting survival rate. Step 1, mix exactly 5 to 10 grams of the product into 1 liter of water. Step 2, dip the base of your cutting into the solution for just 5 to 10 seconds, literally no longer than that. And step 3, immediately plant it into a highly aerated mix. It's basically a quick, surgical strike of hormones that triggers massive root growth. We do need to separate some myth from reality here, though. More hormone does not equal more roots. Actually, if you make the concentration too high, you will literally burn the plant tissue and no roots will form at all, period. On top of that, the pH of your water matters immensely. If your water is too acidic, like dropping below a pH of 5, or too alkaline, rising above 7.5, it can completely neutralize the hormone's effectiveness. Oh, and finally, never ever mix your rooting hormone with chemical fungicides in the same batch. They react with each other and completely ruin the whole treatment. All right, let's transition smoothly over to the next patient in our clinic, moldy soil. You go to water your favorite houseplants and you notice this fuzzy layer of white, green, or yellow mold just covering the surface. Gross, right? But why does this actually happen? Well, it's the ultimate symptom of poor drainage combined with rotting organic matter. Think fallen leaves or maybe uncomposted coffee grounds just sitting in a stagnant, overly humid environment. It's a recipe for disaster. Now, while some thin white molds are just harmlessly breaking down organics, the thick or colored ones, those can actually attack vulnerable roots. So here are the triage steps to cure that pot. First, physically scrape off and just throw away that top moldy layer. Get rid of it. Next, aerate the remaining soil. And crucially, this is the big one, let it dry out completely. Cut back your watering. Finally, to make sure the mold doesn't come back, you can apply a light dusting of agricultural lime to adjust the pH or introduce a really beneficial biological treatment like Trichoderma. So the crucial point here is that prevention is always, always better than a cure. To stop waterlogging and mold before it ever even starts, you need the ultimate preventative, well-draining soil recipe. First rule, stop using dense, suffocating dirt straight from your yard. Instead, you want a perfect mix. A really great starting ratio is about 40% cocoa coir, which holds just the right amount of moisture, combined with 20% rice husk ash for structure. Then, the remaining 40% is split evenly between sand and perlite. That guarantees rapid drainage and massive air pockets, ensuring your plant's roots are always, always breathing. Now, I mentioned Trichoderma a second ago. What exactly is that? Well, think of Trichoderma as a biological shield. It's the ultimate good guy fungus. When you add it to your soil, it essentially acts like a supercharged immune system for your plant's roots. It's an antagonistic fungus, which basically means it aggressively hunts down and destroys the harmful root-rotting fungi in the soil while simultaneously breaking down organic matter to feed your plant. Honestly, it's an absolute game changer for plant health. But okay, I have to issue a major rule break alert right here. This is a crucial warning. Because Trichoderma is a living, breathing fungus, you must never mix it with chemical fungicides. Let me repeat that. Never. If you pour a chemical fungicide into a pot that you just treated with Trichoderma, you will instantly massacre all of those helpful good guy fungi. You totally cancel out all the benefits and leave your soil completely sterile and unprotected. You really have to choose one path or the other, biological or chemical, never both at the exact same time. As we wrap up this masterclass, I want to leave you with kind of a provocative question to really challenge your everyday mindset. Are you actually caring for your plant, or are you just suffocating its roots? True plant care isn't just about what happens above the dirt, you know? It's not just the watering, the pruning, or wiping down the leaves. It requires a deep understanding of that invisible world down below. It's all about oxygen, hormones, beneficial fungi, and perfectly structured soil. When you finally learn to master the roots, you'll know you've succeeded the exact moment you see robust, healthy new leaves pushing through. Because once the roots are happy, the leaves will take care of themselves. Keep learning, guys, and we'll see you in the next explainer.